our nonsense out of the way, I'd like to begin recording the session and turn the time over to Abigail.
Thank you. Welcome, everyone. My name is Abigail with Craft Express. Today we're doing sublimation Q&A. So to get started, I'm going to explain to you what sublimation is. So sublimation is the process in which we turn a solid into a gas, skipping the liquid form. Now, to make more sense of what I'm talking about, since we are talking about crafting, the first thing you need to do is that with sublimation, you need special equipment. Most important thing is a sublimation printer. So I have one right here, right next to me. Sublimation printers are printers that are dedicated just for the use of sublimation. It's the process in which we turned a solid, like I explained, so a print like this one, and then we transfer it over to a blank that is coated with polyester. And then this ink from this piece of paper, through the use of heat, gets absorbed into the product to turn it into one single item. So instead of seeing two things, seeing two products, such as a tumbler or and your print, or a pillowcase in this case, and a print, it's not going to sit on top of the surface, something where you can touch it. It's rather going to be absorbed into the polyester of the tumbler of your blank, and then it becomes one. So if you touch this, you won't feel any of the borders or anything because it's completely absorbed. It turns into one single item. And now this is scratch resistant, water resistant. It's going to last you a long time. So the cool thing about sublimation is that it's long lasting, and you can turn it into memories, right? So you can put pictures on them. You can do your children's art using sublimation markers. There's just so many things that are beneficial of using sublimation. So let's go back just a little bit to where I was talking about the printer. So this printer has sublimation ink. So it's a special kind of ink that gets absorbed by the polyester coating of your blank. And it is one of those important factors that you need to in order to do sublimation. Our second factor that I talked about is heat. So you need a heat source that is capable enough to reach high temperatures in order to sublimate. So for sublimation, we used almost 400 degrees Fahrenheit in order for that process to complete and then have a perfect transfer with vibrant colors. So far, does anyone have any questions? Because I don't want to go too fast. I want you to be able to comprehend it and really get a picture, get a full aspect of what it is to sublimate and what you need to get started. So do we have any questions so far before I move on?
No questions so far.
Awesome. So we talked about printer, and now we talked about heat sources. So Craft Express, we have available different types of heat sources. So over here on my right, you see a flat press or a heat press. So heat presses such as this one are used for flat items, and usually we see a lot of fabric. So one of those popular items is t-shirts. So white t-shirts are the most common color of blank that is used in sublimation. Again, these have to be polyester, very high count of polyester. We recommend that it's 60% higher. The higher the polyester count, the more vibrant your colors will be. Now, something important to note is that sublimation is actually transparent. The ink is transparent. That's why you see more commonly colors like this one's more like a beige kind of color, and white, because of the translucent of the ink. If we put a darker background, chances are those colors are not going to be as vibrant and as visible as it is in a white background. Okay, so fabrics are one of the popular items for a heat press, and you can also use other products such as coasters. There's tumbler tags, there are ceramic tiles. There's so much more products that you can use with a flat press. Remember, the key is that it is polyester and it's a high count of polyester. Now, I do recommend that when you're looking to purchase blanks or products for sublimation, that you make sure that you're purchasing from a reputable source, right? You want to make sure that what you're purchasing is actually has a uniform coating, that it's a company that or a brand that you can trust, and you know that you will always have the same results no matter how many times you replicate it. So that's with a flat press. We also have an oven, and then I have on my left side a tumbler press and a mug press. These three products right here are heat sources that can be used with drinkware. So for example, a tumbler, we can also use it with ceramic, and we can use it with glass. So all these three products can be used with heat sources such as this, okay? What is the difference between these three heat sources, right? That's a very common question that I get when I speak about sublimation. And so I'm going to briefly describe it so that way you know all the different choices that you have and what you need to start with sublimation. Okay, so for example, the oven is a heat source that can be used with different types of blanks. There are blanks that are skinnier, taller, that have unique shapes, such as this one right here. See how it's kind of like a V form, right? So these type of tumblers are much easier to work with when we use the oven. Now this is a Craft Express sublimation oven. It means that it has the ability to go up to the high. Remember we talked about the high temperatures required. You can adjust the settings for the time. It has a large cavity and it heats all around. You will have the same temperature, which is what we need for sublimation. We want to make sure that the heat sources that we are using will have the same temperature, that it won't vary it, that it won't decrease or increase, that it's constant, so that our transfer all around our tumbler looks the same. The tumbler press, the one that's right here, this one is the most common heat source used for drinkware. This one works with 11-ounce mugs up to 30-ounce tumblers. This one is very easy to use. Whoops, I'm knocking on things there. There is a knobs on the back that can be adjusted to open and close the heating barrel in order to have the space for the different styles of blanks that are used. So you just move the knobs on the back and it opens and then closes the barrel to sublimate. And I'm going to show you more on how to use it when we jump into our quick demo that I'm going to share with you all. Now the mug press is used for mugs, and it's an automatic mug press. There's just one button. You can adjust time and temperature with that one button, and it closes automatically to sublimate mugs. All right, so we went through pretty quickly on sublimation printer and heat sources. Now, one other question that I get when we talk about sublimation printers is, where do I design? Hey, that's great. I need a printer. I need a heat source. Where do I design? So a lot of these dedicated sublimation printers, such as the one I have right here next to me, which is a Sawgrass, come with programs. These programs or websites that you can use them with have all the tools that you need to design within the program. There's templates available on there, but you can also use other programs such as Illustrator, Photoshop, Canva, among other options available. So the one important thing that you need to know is how to measure your blanks for sublimation and what types of colors and patterns to choose, right? So the more vibrant your designs, the more vibrant they will look on your blanks. And so you have to know how to choose your designs as well, right? So when we talk about tumblers, I always get the question, how can you sublimate with a seamless line, because I have trouble sublimating, and you can see the line where the paper meets and all these questions. So let's talk about the next part of sublimating. Whoop, I have it over here, which is learning how to choose your blanks and how to measure to create your template. Again, like I said, there's different types of software and websites that you can use in order to create a template. But the important thing to know is how to measure to come out to be able to get the size of your design or your pattern. So for instance, for this skinny tumbler, I have this print right here. Look how beautiful these colors are. And sublimation, usually when you print it, the colors are a little dull. Once you transfer it over, the colors look a lot more vibrant. But this just came out of my printer right here. I have two images here sitting that we're going to be using today. So I want you to really observe how this print looks, because we're going to compare it to how it looks after we transfer it on this paper. But let's talk real quick about measuring. So first thing, in order to get the width of your design, we need to measure it. Okay, so I'm using a measuring tape and I'm putting it around my tumbler here. And this measuring tape will give me the circumference of my tumbler that will also be the width. So for skinny tumblers, for this one, which is a 20-ounce skinny tumbler, which is one of our most popular tumblers, is one of the most common tumblers to use when sublimating. And I recommend that if you are just getting started, that you use a 20-ounce skinny tumbler. There's so many patterns already online that you can choose from, and it's a great way to start practicing and gaining that confidence. So this one measures 9.32 inches in width. Let's remove it. And then we want to get the height. So you're going to take your ruler, and bear with me because I know the ruler is a little translucent, so I don't know if you'll be able to tell. But from here, before your tumbler starts curving at the bottom, you got to measure to the very top. And so the height of this tumbler is 8 inches. That's the first thing you need to know when making tumblers with sublimation. So 9.32 inches in width by 8.0 in height. Now, if you notice, this one has a lot of extra excess, and what we need to do is trim it down so then we can sublimate this tumbler. So I'm gonna go ahead and put my press up here so we can go through the process, and I can teach you the way I do things so I can work efficiently. So we're gonna plug in our press. I can show you how we set time and temperature for this press as well. Where'd I leave my cable? And then, do you have any questions so far?
No questions so far.
No questions. Okay.
Okay, we do have a question from Carmen. Can we use tubers, glass, and ceramic on oven? Also for the mug press, can she use regular mugs with HTV?
So the first question was, can you use what on the oven?
Tubers, glass, and ceramic.
Glass.
Okay, so I'm thinking, can we use tubers, glass, and ceramic on the tumbler, Carmen?
Okay. I let me see if I understood it. So in any of the presses, the blanks that you use need to be coated with polyester. So this one, it's coated with polyester. This one is coated with polyester. It's not a regular mug. You can't like walk into like any other store and pick up a mug and sublimate it. It has to be coated with polyester. Same thing with the glass. This is not just any glass from the store. This is a poly-coated glass tumbler for the use of sublimation. Now, I don't recommend the mug press is not to be used with vinyl or HTV on a mug. it's used for sublimation. So if you want to apply a decal on a mug or a tumbler, it has to be adhesive vinyl. And again, that's going to fall off over time versus sublimation is something that's on there permanently. So I think I addressed both of those questions.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, so let's get started with this part of our demo for today. We're going to do a tumbler, and then I'm going to show you how to use the heat press, the flat heat press, to sublimate onto fabric. Something came up there?
Oh, that's me responding.
Oh, okay. So first thing we want to do before we turn the press on is adjust for pressure. When we talk about sublimation, remember these three things. And every time that I go to the next step, I'm going to pause and remind you of these three important things. Number one, sublimation printer with sublimation inks and sublimation paper. These three things are the start of the sublimation process. They're essential. And if you don't have these three things, then you're not going to be able to sublimate. So this is actually a sublimation paper that I printed using my sublimation printer that has sublimation ink. So right there is our solid. We use the printer with the inks and the paper to create our solid. Remember when in the beginning I said the sublimation is the process of turning a solid into to the gas, skipping the liquid form. So right now we have our first step, which is our solid, this piece of paper. So let's place the tumbler inside the heat press like that. Let me turn it around so you can see. I slide it in here. The heat press is not turned on yet, and I recommend that you do this first before you turn on your press. We're going to test for pressure. So the second important thing, we have our solid now. Second important thing is choosing our blank, making sure our blank is polyester coated, making sure that we're purchasing from a reputable source. So Craft Express, we have a lot of blanks that you can choose from. And then you put your tumbler in here and we close and test for pressure. So pressure is essential in order to turn that solid into a gas and that the ink being absorbed by the polyester coating of your blank. So pressure in a tumbler press is adjusted through the use of the knobs in the back. And I'm rotating them at the same time to the, facing my way would be my left. And so I'm turning them at the same time. And what this does is it closes my barrel more to create some pressure between the two blanks and my tumbler. Why is the pressure important? The pressure is going to hug that paper on the tumbler, and with the heat, it will allow it to transfer. If we don't have pressure, it won't transfer because the heat is not hitting it directly. So we need the heat to hit it directly on both sides of the barrel, on this side and on this side. So that's why we adjust for pressure. Now, how do you know if you have the right amount of pressure? There isn't a number on the press where I can, say, put it on number 10 or put it on number 9. There is only the knobs, and you can kind of eyeball it. By this time, once you keep doing this often, you kind of get a sense of where you need those knobs to go. But the best way to describe it when you're just getting started is how it feels. When you put two magnets together, right, they attract each other, and you can feel the tension caused by both of them that attracts them, and then they touch each other, right? When we are adjusting for pressure and we close it, you kind of feel that tension. You feel how it starts kind of like attracting each other and creates the pressure, but it shouldn't be hard where you are wrestling with your press. That's the best way I can explain it. Remember when we were kids and we hand wrestle? Kind of the same thing. You don't want to hand wrestle with your press. It shouldn't be hard to do. It should just be an easy closing process, because when we open it, we want to be able to open it without having to struggle with it, because Too much pressure will also cause your product to burn. It will cause your paper to burn. And so then those darker colors like black, red, dark blue, they don't look like they should. So pressure is very important. If you still have questions about pressure, go ahead and drop them down so I can address those. So now we have the pressure part done. Yay, we made it this far. This is very important. We made it this far. Next step, turn on your press and set the time and temperature. So time and temperature is based on the blank that you're using, and it will definitely have to do with the brand. We at Craft Express use 385 degrees Fahrenheit for stainless steel. So this is a stainless steel tumbler. It is double wall insulated. Why is this important? It will keep our drinks cold for up to 8 hours. Something important to note is they're Intertech tested and approved, meaning they have been approved to be safe to drink from. All right, so we are using 385 degrees Fahrenheit for 120 seconds, but because this will be a full wrap, and even though you saw that it was closed, there's still a small gap. We're going to have to rotate that tumbler. Therefore, we cut the time in half. So instead of 120, we're going to use 60 seconds. But let's set that first. I'm going to hit clear right here. And then I'm going to select set. Whoops. There we go. Set. And it's already set there, but what you do is use your arrows like that, and you can increase or decrease your temperature. So the first number when you hit set is your temperature. Once you've set your temperature, we hit set one more time, which saves our settings. And now we can use the arrows for a time. And we're doing, remember, 60 seconds, because we are going to rotate our tumbler. And then hit set, and it saves those settings. So while our tumbler press is heating up, now we can prep our tumbler. All right, so let's go back real quick. Sublimation printer, sublimation inks with sublimation paper. 3 things creates our solid. There we go. So beautiful. Isn't this really like rich and vibrant? I love it. Wait till we sublimate it. Then we choose our heat source. In this case, because we're doing a tumbler, we're going to be using the tumbler press. So we selected our heat source. We know the time and temperature based on the blank. Now, the time and temperature, you can access that in the product. So if you go to michaels.com and you select the product, in the description or in the information provided, you will find the time and temperature. So we always provide you with time and temperature for any of our blanks that you will be using. Okay, we chose the blank, polyester blank, 20-ounce skinny tumbler. We've already measured it, and we have our prints right here. Next thing is to trim it. I'm going to grab my scissors to trim my prints real quick. I wanted you to see it, how it looks when it prints. I have gotten the questions of like, do you print it landscape? Do you print it horizontal? So I thought it was best if you saw how that print came out. And now we are trimming so that we only leave our print. Any questions so far?
No questions so far.
Awesome. Now, while I'm trimming this, if you can share in the comments, what was one thing that you have learned so far that either surprised you, you didn't know about, or cleared your thoughts or your questions in regards to sublimation? Let us know in the comments. I would love to know if I was able to address any questions or concerns. All right, I'm almost done, and we are trimming the last part, which was the bottom. And now we're left with just our sublimation print. Okay, so what goes next? Our tumblers will catch any debris that we have on our table. If you're a crafter like me, sometimes we have glitter on our table. So the next thing is to clean the tumbler. You can use a polyester a rag and clean it. You can use alcohol, rubbing alcohol to clean it, or you can even use a lint roller. So I like to use the lint roller and just roll it across my tumbler. And why do we do this step? Sometimes it has some fuzzies on your tumbler picked up, by the air that, they're flying around, or again, from your table, you may find some debris on there. And so if we don't remove them and it gets sublimated like that, you will see them and they won't come off. All right, do we have any comments there? Anything?
We have a comment from Sherry. Abby, you're doing great, explaining everything in very much detail.
Yay, thank you, Sherry. Okay, so we've cleaned our tumbler. Now it's time to wrap it. So I'm going to take my tumbler wrap and I'm going to place it around. I'm going to place it like this so it's easier for all of you to watch it and see it. And then I'm going to create some pressure to have those two ends meet like that, okay? Now this tool is optional, but I like to use it because it helps me keep my tumbler balanced. Oh, so let me do this so you can see. So I like to not shuffle, but just make sure that if I have extra paper, that it's on the top and not the bottom, because it curves a little. I prefer it to be extra at the top. It doesn't affect the overall look of your tumbler. So that's a tip right there. If you happen to have extra paper on the top, it's totally fine. Now, what do we need? Our next step is heat resistant tape. We use heat resistant tape because this tape is special because it is safe to use with heat. It won't melt. It won't leave residue on your tumblers. So I don't recommend that you use any type of tape because we don't want to have the residue of the tape stick onto your tumbler. Trust me, the first time when I began sublimating, I thought, oh, I forgot to get my tape. That's fine. I'll just use the tape that I have here at home. Oh, it was stuck and it did not work. And it was a bad, bad thing. So don't make that mistake. Make sure you get heat resistant tape. And what I like to do is make a straight line. Oops, did I overlap it on the wrong side? Let's see. Make a straight line of tape overlapping one over the other. This technique is going to do one important thing. Well, two important things. Number one, we are taping along the edges of the tumbler. Not the edges, along the seam, where those two pieces of paper meet. But see how I made a straight row? And the first tape that I put was across. When we sublimate, we want to make sure that we take the paper off right away as soon as it comes out of the press. So it is best to tape it in a way that makes it easier for you to remove it. That's all the tape that you need. As long as you have that paper really tight around your tumbler and you taping it along the seam, that's all you need. Moving things around because I know I have a lot of stuff. Let's move this here out of the way so you can really concentrate on the most important thing. So I'm going to move my tumbler press right here. I'm going to put it on the side so you can see how that slides in there. This press is ready. Do you see how it says 385 now? Now what I like to do is put my tumbler with the tape facing up. This will allow me to remember where I started. So when I turn it, I know how far I need to go. So I'm going to slide this in my press right there. And then we're going to close it. There we go. Turn it this way. And I also am going to get prepared with a heat resistant glove. These gloves I absolutely love over fabric ones. These are silicone gloves. In the interior, it has this lining, kind of like what we use for the oven. So it keeps our hands safe. We are going to rotate the tumbler. That's going to be very, very hot. So be careful. Use a glove that's going to protect yourself. I love these. They look huge compared to my tiny hands, but I love it because it reaches from all the way to the bottom. And that way I know that I'm going to have my hands safe from all that heat. So we're going to wait for 60 seconds Doesn't take that long. And then once it's ready, I'm gonna rotate it. So I'm gonna turn it this way because it's about to be ready, and I'm gonna have to rotate my tumbler inside the press. So we open it, then we rotate the tumbler. So now my tape is facing down, and we're going to close it and wait for 60 more seconds. It is that quick. Just in 2 minutes, we are done. We're done sublimating a tumbler. Again, you can put pictures on these. You can use them so there's this really cool project that I've seen where they use their like children's handwriting using the markers or drawings, and they sublimate it onto the tumblers, and it's such a beautiful gift. I mean, mugs for Christmas, for Mother's Day, for Father's Day. It's a beautiful keepsake. You can also put pictures on them and they look amazing. So this is almost done, and this is a 20 ounce skinny tumbler, but you can use different sizes of tumblers. We have a variety of tumblers to choose from. Remember, it's very important that they are polyester coated. It's almost time. This is my favorite part. The one that I'm about to show you. It's revealing the finished product and experiencing what we call in Craft Express the wow moment. So we're going to take that tape down the middle. Remember, tape I talked about? We're going to pull it like that. Pull this one right here. And let me wow you right now. Oop, I got stuck on this side. Hold on, you guys. I'm almost there. Okay. Now, if your paper gets stuck like mine, all you gotta do is put some water and it will come off. But look at these beautiful, beautiful, rich colors. I love it. I love this part of sublimation. And that's our line right there. That's our seam right there. Look how perfect it turned out. Amazing. Love it. And this is what we call the wow moment. The moment that you get to see your full print on your tumbler, the richness of the colors. And now this is not gonna wash off, fade away. Remember to talk about the importance of pressure. So I really put a lot of pressure myself because the background on here is dark, right? And it has a lot of like blues and reds and purples. So if we don't have the right amount of pressure, the black tends to look like brownish. So that means you overcooked it. So right amount of time, temperature, pressure, 3 things. And now we turned a solid that we got from the sublimation printer with the inks and the paper, a solid, use the heat source to place our design onto the polyester blank and turn that solid into a gas absorbed by the polyester coating of our tumbler to have this perfect, long-lasting product, okay? Questions? And I'm gonna put this on the side.
No questions so far.
Okay, let's put this up here. And let's go with a different type. Did I turn it off? Yes. Let's go with a different type of product using our flat press. So I told you today we're gonna do 2 demos. Whenever I've done the tumbler or the mug, I get questions about the flat press. So I came prepared to answer you all those questions with a quick demo. Oop, let me take this off. Okay, let's just leave it like that. We're not gonna struggle right now. All right, let me pull my flat press here. This one's tall. Look at how big that is. Okay, compared to me, I'm tiny. Whoop. We are going to transfer now this one into a fabric. So the fabric that I chose is these pillowcases here. These are perfect to decorate your living room, living space. These are made of 100% polyester. This is a linen pillowcase, and we are going to transfer this design over to the pillowcase using the heat press. I'm going to set the time and temperature in the heat press. It takes a little longer to heat up. Whoop. I'm turning it on. I hadn't even plugged it in. Okay. Now this one's a little bit harder, I think, to see on camera. Can you guys see that? No, I don't think you can see it. But when we work with fabrics, we use 385 degrees Fahrenheit. So sort of the same temperature, right, that we use for the tumbler. This one presses though for 45 seconds. So we are going to set 45 seconds. Now the buttons, I was gonna say the numbers, the buttons on the flat press are the same as the tumbler press. So the same process of setting time and temperature and all that stuff. Now, while this press heats up, we're going to adjust the pressure. Same concept, except this one only has one knob. This one brings this top plate up or down, depending on the cavity that you need, depending on the blank that you are sublimating. So I'm going to place this one in here. And we are going to test for pressure. That's the first thing I do because I do have it set to whatever I sublimated last. So we're going to test for pressure. So if you notice, I can't close it. I'm not even going to go farther because I can't close it. That means that my plate is too low for the thickness of this product. So what I'm going to do is turn my knob to the left, which brings my, does it bring it higher? Yeah, it brings my plate higher. Now, if you notice when I closed it, you can actually, I can stick my finger in there and there's a gap. So we are going to bring the plate lower now, and I'm turning this knob to the right. Brings my plate lower until I start feeling the tension that I explained with the tumbler press. So I want to make sure that when we close it, there's tension, not so much where like I'm wrestling with my press. I don't want to wrestle with it. I want to have fun. I want to enjoy the process, especially if you are going to be making more than one product. You want to make sure that you're not giving yourself a hard time by adding too much pressure on it. Okay, so we have set the time and temperature. We've adjusted the pressure. And now we are going to prep the pillowcase. I also need this to heat up a little longer because one important step when working with fabrics is removing moisture. When you are using fabric, any type of fabric, you will always have a little bit of moisture. I know when you touch it, you're going to say, Abby, but I don't feel any moisture. It's not wet. But there's moisture on your fabric, and we want to add a little bit of heat just for like 5 seconds. That will remove the moisture, and in turn will give us a lot better results when we sublimate. So I am going to be using this print right here. And what I'm going to do is whenever I work with fabric, this is an important tip that I can give you, is to tear along the edges of your print. And the way we want to tear that is using our fingers. No scissors for this process. We want to use our fingers. And I'm going to show you why we do this when we work with fabric. Some fabrics are more forgiving than others, but when I tear it, these lines are not harshly marked. In fact, pieces of my paper are kind of like ripped, right? And you can see a little bit of those fibers of your paper. That's what you want to get. You want to see those fibers on your paper. That's why you want to use your fingers. Otherwise, if you leave your whole piece of paper like this, there's occasions where there's some fabrics, like I said, that are not too forgiving. And when you press them, you will see the lines marked on your fabric, especially for thin fabrics such as baby bibs or aprons or t-shirts. You will see those lines and they won't come off. It doesn't matter how many times you wash it or you iron it, it doesn't come off. So make sure that you make a habit of using this tip of tearing along the edges, because you never know, especially if you're trying new blanks, if the lines are going to be marked or embossed. So I'm tearing along the edges, and I'm going to be very careful. Hopefully I don't tear into my design or into my print. And we're going to tear here on all 4 sides. Any questions so far?
No questions so far.
Awesome. Okay. I hope that means that I'm answering all your questions before you get the chance to even ask them. Okay. So let me put this aside. Now, same thing with the tumbler, especially with fabric. We want to make sure we run the lint roller across it so it picks up all the lint. And I know on camera you probably can't catch it, but my fabric actually has a little bit of lint like in the corners. And even though our design is not going to cover the full pillowcase, we still want to run it across because when we are handling, moving it around, the lint will fly around and we don't want it to be pressed on our fabric because then it's not going to come off. All right, so we are done. Next thing, remember, is to preheat it. So right now it's at 250. So we're going to wait for it to heat up a little bit more. And that way, that gives us a chance to talk about other options that you have if you don't have a sublimation printer yet, or if you're not ready to purchase one just yet. So I'm going to press this for like 5 seconds. Checking the time here. Just 5 seconds, again, to remove the moisture. And this will, in result, give us better results. In result, will give us better results. That totally makes sense. All right, I think that we're good. From 5 to 10 seconds, your pillowcase should feel a little bit warm. And now we are going to place our print on top of it. So I'm going to place this print right on top, right here in the middle. And I use my hands to measure it. So I put it against the edges of the pillowcase so it's centered. And then we're going to use our heat-resistant tape. And this option tape dispenser, I love this tape dispenser. It comes in handy for any types of crafts so that you can easily dispense tape and it cuts it for you. So I'm placing tape on all 4 sides. I like to place one in the middle because sometimes when you lift it, it opens up like a tiny gap. And we want to make sure this paper is really stuck on the pillowcase so that when we are handling over to transfer the pillowcase into the press, it's not moving around, or when we close the press, it's not lifting or moving around and then causes what we call ghosting. And what it is places where your ink didn't fully transfer. And then, so we have this lighter effect, or sometimes you see the image double. So that's what we call ghosting. That's what we are trying to prevent. So we have it taped, it's ready. We're still waiting for the press to heat up. So let's briefly talk about other options. So if you don't have a sublimation printer and you want to try out sublimation, we do have other options such as the markers that I spoke about. So these markers have special ink. They're not like the usual markers you can pick up at the store. These markers have sublimation ink so that you can draw on a regular piece of paper and transfer your design over to any sublimation blank. So a blank is any product, a surface coated with polyester used for sublimation. So you draw this on a blank piece of paper and then transfer it over to a pillowcase, a tote, a mug, a tumbler, any of those products. And it looks so beautiful. It's a great way to keep for years to come your children's drawings or grandchildren's drawings. So I really, really love these. Okay, our next option, so that's one option. Our next options are transfer sheets. So the transfer sheets come in different patterns, colors, or solids. And these can be cut using a plotter and then transferred over. one thing to remember is if you're using drawings or anything like that, that you are printing or cutting your designs mirror. I think I forgot to mention that. Make sure you cut it mirror. And I don't know if you were able to see the designs, how, especially with this one, you will be able to see it. This one has been mirror because it does have words and we want them to look properly once we press them. So mirror your designs even if you're cutting. So these come with 4 12 by 12 sheets. And so the pattern that you see on the box is what you will get after you sublimate. So let me show you here how they come out. So this is the transfer sheet, okay? I think I already used part of this one. So this one's not 12 by 12 because I cut it. But this is how the pattern looks, sorry. On the back, you have these lines. This is what you stick onto your cutting mat and cut it. You can also use like a die cutting machine and cut out designs or images and then transfer it over using a heat source. So this is a great way to get started with sublimation if you don't yet have a printer. I am going to show you a mug that I made with this one. So that you can see the before and after. So this is the sheet, how it looks like, right? Compared to what's on the box, the colors look a bit dull. This is normal with sublimation. Your colors will look dull once you print it. Your colors will look dull in the transfer sheets, but once the heat is applied, then you get these vibrant results. Look how beautiful this looks. Look
Hey, Abigail,
the
we have a
comparison.
question.
Yes, go ahead.
Are the markers to be used on regular copy paper or do they have to be used on sublimation copy paper?
On regular copy paper. I do recommend that you use laser bright paper. The results tend to be a little bit brighter than like an inkjet copy paper, but you can use any copy paper to draw using the markers and then transfer it over. Okay, so this one, again, we have different patterns. We incorporated solids, I think it was this year, beginning of this year. So there's really a lot of choices to go with the transfer sheets. And again, this is a great way to get started with sublimation without having to commit to a printer if you're not ready for that just yet. Okay, let's see if my press is ready. My press is ready. Yes, I'm on time. All right, so let's get going with our press. We're going to place this inside the press. Now, usually I don't place anything on the fabric, but with markers, the colors tend to seep out. So I recommend placing a piece of butcher paper or a piece of what is that one called? Parchment paper on top, so that if the colors seep through, the paper catches it and it doesn't stain your press. Because if it stains your press, next product that you put in there will get stained with the previous design because it's going to be on top of your press. So make sure you cover it, make a habit of doing that, and we're going to press it. So again, this is 385 degrees Fahrenheit for 45 seconds. Oops, this thing keeps turning on. Okay. Any questions?
No questions so far.
Okay, I feel like I'm talking so fast. So if you need to stop me at any point, please do so. Or if there's anything that you need to be repeated again or that you didn't quite understand, please let me know. We're here to help you. We want to make sure that you have all the information that you need to get started with sublimation. And so that's why I thought it was a great idea to show 2 demos, one with a drinkware and one with a flat item. All right, so we have that 45 seconds, so quick. Let's remove this here. And now let's get ready for that wow moment. So peel it from one corner. Look at this beautiful result. Look at these colors, so rich, so vibrant. I love it. This is my favorite part of showing you, like taking that paper off and showing you the final result, the final product.
Hey,
Okay,
Abigail, we have another question.
yes.
What size heat press is that, and are there more than one size?
Yes, so this one's the 8 by 11. We also have 15 by 15. So there's different sizes to choose from. This one, I usually use it for the majority of like my projects. Unless you're doing like a large print or a large t-shirt, then I would recommend going with the 15 by 15. But as you notice, this one was perfect for this project. And again, you can use that with ornaments. You can use that ceramic ornaments coated for sublimation. And you can use that for, oh, I thought I had it here. For coasters, we have a cheese board with tile. We have glass cheese board. So there's so many surfaces that are already poly coated. It can be used with just this one press. Then we have an exclusive color here with Michael's. It is a white, and we have all three heat sources. So the heat press, the oven, and the tumbler press available in that beautiful, beautiful white color, exclusive to Michael's. So you have these three great options. Go take advantage of those. They're great heat presses, and then you're always going to get the same result. So it doesn't matter how many times you replicate it, you will get the same result. So if you are trying to do, I don't know, mugs for teachers at school, or for a club or a football team, whatever the case may be, you can go with the oven, for example, and put all in at once, and you will have the same result throughout your whole process. So I recommend that you invest in any of these heat sources, depending on the type of blanks that you are working with. I think I saw something there. Is there something there that popped up, or is it just me?
That was the last question.
Okay, perfect. So let's review real quick these two projects that we did. Look how beautiful these colors are. They're so vibrant. I love when I'm using like these really neon and vibrant colors with sublimation, because it really gives you a great picture of what sublimation is. So just to review real quick, since we are getting close to finishing up our class, we need a sublimation printer, and I recommend that you purchase a dedicated sublimation printer. This one is one that was manufactured for that purpose. It has already these special kinds of inks for sublimation, that you purchase sublimation paper, not just use any copy paper or any paper that you find in the store. Make sure that it's sublimation paper. This is the first step of creating our solid. Next, choose the blank, and then choose your heat source. So I gave you two examples. Tumblers can be pressed both in an oven and in a tumbler press, right here. And then I gave you an option of fabric with the heat source, which is our press. The times and temperatures are going to be based on the manufacturer of your blanks. And for our products, you can find them on the listing. So if you go into michaels.com, search for the tumblers or for any other products, and look into the description, you will find the times and temperature for each of the blanks. That way, you will never have to guess what time and temperature you do. You will go straight forward with all the information that you need, so your first project is amazing and you're not stressing about it, like, what did I do wrong? So that's that. Our heat source, our blanks have to be high count of polyester. They have to be all poly coated. And remember, one important detail to know is the sublimation ink is translucent or transparent. Therefore, our blanks are mostly white, so that those colors are visible.
Hey, Abigail, we have another question. What does it mean to mirror?
Mirror. Okay, so is this one backwards? No, I think this one's right. So mirror is when your design, I think you can still see it here, when your design looks opposite. So if you stand in the mirror, if I stand like in the mirror, Craft Express will look backwards, right? So instead of having your design look like this, because you can see that this one says boo, boo, boo. right? You flip it over. So basically means to flip it over. So when you're designing, before you hit print, make sure it's mirrored, it's flipped over, so that when it prints like this. It prints flipped over. Because when we transfer it, when I put this paper down, right? So when I look at it like this, it's reversed, it's flipped, but when I put it down, and if I hold this against the light, then I see it correctly. So we do it mirror because we're going to flip it down onto the blank, and we want it to read properly. I hope that made sense. Maybe I did too much explaining and it was just as simple as saying flipped. Flip your design when you're designing, when you're ready to print. And most sublimation printers, like the one I use, the Sawgrass, within their print utility, it has options. So for this, the Sawgrass, it has options. It gives you the options to choose the blank or the product that you're sublimating on. It gives you the option to select mirror. So it does it automatically for you. I just, upload my design onto the print utility. I make sure mirror is turned on. It automatically does it. But if in case, I always make a habit of checking just in case it's not. And so it flips it for you. And then you just print, and that's it. You print it, you saw how that paper looked, come out, tape it, and you sublimate. And that's it. It's pretty simple. There's places where you can find templates made for specific blanks. There's softwares like Sawgrass that has pre-designed blanks on there. You just upload your design, fix it how you want it, print it, and it comes out exactly how you need it. But if you don't, that's the only thing you got to do. Make sure that it's flipped. Oh, I'm going to explain this. I forgot to explain this. So this one, this is a parchment paper I had on top of my pillowcase when I was pressing it. This one looks clean, but there's instances where there's tiny marks or this tiny ink that transferred over. Throw it away. Don't use it anymore, because if you use it again, then whatever it absorbed is going to transfer it over to your blank. So I always make a habit of double checking that. And if you're not sure, throw it away. Throw it away and use a clean parchment paper next time that you press. So any more questions?
No other questions.
Okay, perfect. I think it's almost time, right?
Yes, it's 1:58.
Okay. So I want to say thank you to all of you that were here in the class. I hope that you learned a lot. I hope that I didn't talk too fast, but just provided you the right information, the exact information that you need to know more about sublimation, to know how to use the products, how to choose your product, how to choose your heat source, and that you take this adventure full on and experience how beautiful it is to sublimate, because it is as simple as you saw it. As simple as you saw it is really how it is. And so I hope that this class was super helpful and that you can leave this class feeling a lot more relief, that you have more information, you're ready to choose your heat source and get started with sublimation.